All right, thank you very much, Veli, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our final matchup of the day. Going to be diving headfirst into Villa here in just a moment as DarkZero look to reclaim some footing, similarly as Disrupt is going to be looking to do. Stokes, as should be no surprise to you guys, is going to be with me here on the cast for our game as well. Stokes, what do you think of this matchup?
Oh man, we got a lot of weird things to talk about here, but I think it's going to be fun, John. I think the thing to talk about with both of these teams is the scorelines right now that they currently hold for the standings. Disrupt 1 and 2, DarkZero 2 and 1, but in quite different fashions. Disrupt actually having to go up against Space Station as well as TSM inside of their first 3 maps, and well, we've been seeing how they've been playing. DarkZero actually ended up beating SSG as well, 8-6. So as of right now, the teams are in kind of limbo, trying to figure out exactly where they're going to lie, although we do see an edge coming out obviously with SSG and TSM. But for this matchup especially, I think this sets up for what is going to be looked at as the top 4.
We'll have to see if that will end up being true, as meanwhile on the other side of the coin, like you said, Disrupt currently with that 1-2 record looking to reclaim their own winning streak here. Rough one in their most recent matchup, and that was with Iconic having a solid performance as well. Quite often this gets talked about as Iconic is kind of that make or break player on the team that is going to decide if they'll come out on top on the individual spectrum or not, but hasn't been as much of a truthful point in my opinion in more recent terms, excuse me. As I think back in stage 1, you could argue that that statement was true, but we've started to see a lot of the other players come into form as well. So I think that we're starting to see a lot more come out from the rest of that roster also, and hopefully we see some of that shine through today. As usual, we have our community poll question, though. We want to know from you guys at home, of these two veterans, which do you think will have the biggest impact in this match? Will it be BC from DarkZero, or is Shuttle going to step it up today from Disrupt? Let us know over on our social channels at R6 Esports NA on Twitter. I believe we have it in the Twitch chat as well, and a few other places. Veli and the desk will have the results and whether you guys were right or not, more importantly, a little bit later on in the matchup.
So, DZ and Disrupt, obviously what you said, BC up against Shuttle. Shuttle not having the greatest of stages, but obviously can bounce back at any time. Such a fantastic player, and when he's on, you heard Veli say it himself, that man can be the entire win condition. He can be the only thing separating you from that dub. We'll see if it happens here today as we finally launch into Italy, start looking at the wheat fields right outside of Villa. DarkZero obviously going to be handling our outside bans, as Disrupt will handle the inside.
Well, let's take a look here and see where those bands are going to drift towards. DarkZero gets the 2 outer bands. Disrupt gets the 2 center ones. No surprises to start off with. Here's Thatcher's immediately going to get yeeted out of the pool, as was the case in our previous matchup, and I believe at least one other from today as well. Thatcher's still pretty much a mainstay on the attacker bands, depending on the map. We're going to see Hibana knocked out next by Disrupt.
Well, Thatcher currently sitting at a 60% ban rate through the first 3 days of play. Obviously, today has not been calculated just yet, so that will be for next week. But Hibana also going to follow suit. Really like that. That's for Villa. Going to make things a little weird. Honestly, I think the mute ban is fantastic here, especially for Villa. You know, you don't want to use bandit batteries or really dedicate like electro claws and things like that all the time. Mute provides a different way in order to do a lot of things, just because he has so much utility in his pocket with those jammers. So he can jam like 4 different sets of walls. For instance, like downstairs in kitchen, he can get like the pantry wall as well as the laundry wall, and then go upstairs and mute off the triple. And there's just a lot of different ways that you can use his utility, and that's why we've been seeing him played a lot on this map. But besides that, last defensive ban coming in, Valkyrie, that one is pretty self-explanatory. But for those of you that are newer, simply just way too much intel inside of her kit, and it's very annoying to try and deal with, especially when you can't fit somebody in like IQ very easily.
It's just way too cumbersome to the round timer, having to spend all that looking around for those little things if you're in the midst of a room or something like that. So better to just not have that in the back of your mind by removing her completely. And that has been a thought pattern that's shared by the large majority of our teams as of a recent meta. BC going to be bringing in a Clash, so not too much of a surprise they're seeing the prevalence of Clash that's been showing up in Villa as of late here. To be immediately throwing that into the fray for DarkZero in the first round, as they'll be going for an AVG defense. So quite a bit could come out from those positions that BC is going to be able to play. He can deny access to pretty much any of the important angles that Disrupt are going to eventually look to get control over and cause a huge delay in the overall sync of time.
Yeah, this is as straightforward of a DZ strat as I could possibly have asked for. I mean, we got shields going on, great utility play. This is as DarkZero as it gets. As BC is going to be on the shield. Looks like they're going to be running impact to deny anything going on with the study walls. We'll see if Disrupt want to go for the north to south clear instead and try and avert that, but we'll have to see how that ends up going down. But that's where these mute jammers can totally come into play as well from our earlier point, is these like multitude of walls that they're able to hold down simply because the jammer's there, and they have to find some other means to be able to get rid of it, especially with Thatcher not being on the board. But obviously Disrupt not going to have to deal with it. Just something to note to show off how potent Mute really can be as an op, especially paired with obviously Mozzie as we're used to.
About 30 seconds in here. It's not too much transpiring as a result of that, just as of yet here. We can see Bazoo though. The pre-fire angle to line up, just cleaning up the angle itself a little bit if he can there with that pre-fire there, but not going to be finding anyone from Disrupt actually pushing into it just as of yet. DP Fire would be the closest to it, and he's definitely keeping an eye on that now that he's seen the bullets ring through just from the other side, but not going to be so easy to meet the match just as of yet here. However, he will get stunned out seconds later regardless, and that will act as the signal flare to push forward. DP Fire gets the opening kill as Disrupt able to make their way forward and take out Pambazoo.
Nice pickup there. Great clear of the bottom floor as well. Disrupt ready for anything. DarkZero was ready to throw at them on this portion of the map as they'll be transition this into a 90 clear here. They'll have to worry about Hyper, who's currently holding the area. Can't get the drone as it skates straight outside through the drone hole, but still solid positioning here for DZ, although they did lose Pambazoo earlier on. Only a minute and 30 remain, so they've already forced DZ or Disrupt back off of the actual site execute. This is quite a big deal as they'll be able to hold on to this utility, especially when you have the players like NJR and BC here that can delay even longer or even prevent a plant. That's going to be quite a big deal. Impact's now out for the DarkZero members as they'll continue to be able to hold down Gunvault. BC is going to stack the impacts, and that's going to be the last Selma charge right here. No longer able to get control of Gunvault, and Disrupt's plans fly out the window.
Minute left here for Disrupt to come up with a plan B as they work so desperately to try to get some angle of access for themselves. DarkZero, in the meantime, feeling nice and confident about themselves, despite the fact that they are down, currently in a 4v5 due to the fact that they've been able to hold back the tide on those wall breaches. Retro continuing to rotate over, now takes up position just outside of Study, but BC is already here to block that from the main stair direction. So if anything, Disrupt will have to force their way through that doorway, and if that's the only angle of attack, it's certainly not going to be pretty when they're forced into the site. 30 seconds left, though, so Disrupt need to make something happen soon here. Otherwise, they're going to be at that 20-second marker with no way into the site. Good utility usage overwhelms BC and allows for a quick kill onto him. Now DarkZero down to 3 players, and we've got new possibilities springing forward, but they are going to be sprung with very low time. Nice! Again, another pickup from Disrupt as NJR is fragged out of position, and the same can be said for Eclipse, even though he dies to a gun. Either way, really nice job from the Disrupt roster to still take control of that, given all the circumstances leading up to the end.
That was so very well done from Disrupt in the low time. You know, the forward positioning there from BC, not the worst decision in the world. I just don't think that he knew that the Zofia was in the area. Ends up catching one of those concussions, and we also saw how that one went down. But it was a great delay there from DarkZero. Love the idea of how they were handling Gunvault and making sure that they could hold on to that area. It actually helped them for quite a bit of time there into those dying moments. But the only thing that I didn't necessarily like all that too much was the very quick use on the smokes from NJR. They still have all of those Banshees inside a site, especially over near the Plains Room area. There's one right next to Gunvault that they still had that they didn't play for at all. Instead, they burned all of the utility trying to keep them out of the room, and it just really didn't work out for them. As they're trying to do so, Disrupt just continues to take a member and take a member and take a member. Every time DarkZero moved forward to slow them down again, Disrupt was able to just pick them off one by one, and that's what ended up translating into that round one. Very well done from Disrupt, especially on the patience there. They didn't overextend themselves, and it could have been a big issue if they did.
Yeah, and ultimately probably were feeling very cool, calm, and collected considering all the utility that ended up working for them in the execute itself. So I'd imagine Intel was sitting in pretty good shape for Disrupt, despite the fact that the map control was severely lacking up until those final couple of seconds when they had to brute force their way forward. So really good stuff from Disrupt to make the best out of a bad situation. Now time to see if they can continue to carry that forward. DarkZero not going to reattempt the same site, Instead, we'll shift to the other side of the map and go for the trophy and statuary defense. This does mean we are going to have a little bit more of a horizontal roam on the first floor. And we can already see some of that coming from Eclipse. He's currently holding a library with a possible contest against DP Fire in just a second here.
Gonna have a gunfight early on, as you were saying, but just one more thing I wanted to touch on about that last round. That Habana ban, John, coming in huge there because of those impacts. That's what I'm saying. It's just such a smart ban because you don't get to choose the amount of Selmas that you get to throw. You only throw 1, and then 2, and then 3. That's it. You can't just launch them as like little pellets and have them burn all of their impacts. So that's the differences between Ace and Habana inside of that scenario. So quite the big deal there for DG and how they were forced to handle stuff. But either way, though, DarkZero now getting backed off of this roam, but they're just going to continue to hold on to this top area, especially towards benches. They can basically use BC as a mobile mirror setup and actually just take peeks off of him unless, you know, obviously they tag him in the back of the head. That's the worst case scenario, and we hope to not see that.
BC continuing to wait out any action we might get from Disrupt, but they themselves are taking a passive note here. You can even see Claymore is getting set up on red stairs here to make sure that they can continue to attain the second floor control they've already got for themselves, and watch out for players like Eclipse who were roaming around the first floor earlier in the round looking for those flanked opportunities. Not going to be so easy to find them, and at the same time, not going to be so easy for Disrupt to get any access to the inside of Statuary due to the setup of both BC and Hyper working together. They know it's there, so they're going to have to either shift their expectations or come up with a plan to get past this, and it's looking like the shift might be happening over here towards Trophy. Nowhere near definitive as of yet, only using those Ash charges to clear out the extra shield that was sitting inside of Trophy, but still, that decision more than likely going to be made at some point in the next 20 to 30 seconds. You can see that utility coming out from Disrupt again. They try to find the quick nade pick onto NJR. Not so easy. They do get some damage on him through another means, though, and as well, there goes the impact charge to try and take out BC, but this time it fails. Only knocks off 75 HP. Gonna have to use another one to get the job done, and this time can't even do that either. Shuttle instead, though, knocks out another player as Panba gonna end up falling first for DZ with 45 seconds left.
It's been great from Disrupt so far. The problem solving showing up in flying colors. This will take down yet another. Retro with the push from Master takes down the bathroom player. Hyper with the refrag, though, down into the 2v2. Retro still inside of Master. Could go for the bathroom rotate, but still has to worry about DP Fire at his bench's door as well. NJR is laying around here somewhere, too, as the case is off inside of Boar. It looks like NJR, will be manning this area. Still has a smoke as well. DP Fire will get read out. Goes for the pre-fire, but only tags up NJR. Tries to push for the bench's door instead. He'll get taken down. The AK-wielding man in the room across, eliminated as well as Hyper with 2 big frags to seal the deal. DarkZero take round 2.
Hyper with such smooth control over that situation, even discounting the last 2 kills. If you remember earlier in the round, he also managed the situation over by the Astro Repel also there. So some really good stuff from him to be able to take down not only that pivotal point of the round, but the ending 2 frags as well there. Puts DarkZero on good footing to immediately retie our situation, and also locks down that first sight for the defenders as they're going to head downstairs for their next choice now, as Dining and Kitchen is up on deck for round 3. We're going to get a 6 pick from Disrupt. It's just a change up in Hard Breach, though, as they'll go from the Ace to the Thermite.
Yeah, just more than likely those smoke grenades. That's been something that we've been talking about recently with the patch that just happened before the 6th Invitational. Ace ended up losing his smokes, which made him arguably the best hard breach that we've ever seen in the game, just because he could Selma 3 walls, has an AK-12, and also had smokes. So he just kind of did everything that you could possibly want a hard breach to ever do, besides hatches, because obviously you have to dedicate 2 of those, but that's neither here nor there. What matters is Thermite is now back into the meta, and you got to worry about those smoke plays when you see him come into the lineup. That's more than likely why we saw the 6 pick come in here. They don't want to give it up just yet, and on a site like this, that's actually going to mean a lot. The only thing that's going to change up here for DG is they won't be able to grab the kitchen angle as early for Pantry because they're not going to have ranged hard breach here.
Let's see how exactly Disrupt will be able to manage the situation. A lot to deal with when they're going for a downstairs attack. You obviously have to clear out the multitude of options the defenders have to mess with you with their upstairs roam and wrangle that before you can even think about dropping down into the site itself. But despite that fact, we do have Disrupt putting some pressure onto the first floor, it seems, right off rip here, or at least exploring that as an option towards the art studio window just below the study balcony. You can see the amount of resistance that's been set up from DarkZero upstairs, specifically around that study hopping that we were just talking about. But DP Fire might be coming up with something here to quickly work against the DarkZero setup, as now they've pushed back the 90 player due to their presence on the rappel further down that hallway. And you can already see that. DP Fire, I believe, on the Ash, able to push all the way up the main stairs, now with no contest coming in from the players that were here previously.
Well, smooth opening minute here. Obviously some trading on damage going back and forth, but really only towards the DarkZero side as Hyper caught a bullet, but not too much past that. Disrupt will walk DarkZero back towards the top of their site. We'll be playing strictly up inside of the trophy statue area now, as they'll be holding obviously the kitchen area still with BC and Eclipse inside of the actual site. As for Disrupt, they've reached the middle part of the round, more than likely meaning it's drone play. They're simply going to be droning around, trying to find as much intel across the map as possible. Again, great job on backing off this roam game initially, not getting picked off, but finally coming through off of assuming a cam somewhere upstairs that finds a big frag. Actually, more than likely BC with a cardiac sensor from below to assist with that nitro cell from Eclipse. DarkZero now trying to fight fire with fire upstairs, almost take out another. But luckily, Retro's still alive, just lost J9 in the process.
Yeah, very quick on the trade from Disrupt, so not going to be losing the disadvantage there, but not necessarily going to be gaining it. That
Watch out, Nomad.
for a second. Thankfully doesn't end up going the worst way. But yeah, Shuttle as well, a couple seconds after, nearly getting swatted in the back by his teammate. Going to be able to take down another member of DarkZero. Hyper also has been brought down incredibly low. He can only take a single bullet right now from nearly any gun in the game, so he's got to be very careful with his own fight selection from this point forward. Bit of a Hail Mary Nitro, not going to get immediately detonated, so some possibility for that to show up later when they transition downstairs. But for the time being, Disrupt still trying to hunt on the top-down angles. Had an opportunity right there, I believe, to isolate out Eclipse, but missed it. And now we need to see the site execute come in. It's only Retro and Laundry getting ready for the push, but the rest of the team needs to join up soon as we are at that pivotal 20-second marker.
Well, DarkZero have backed off. Likely meaning to disrupt plant here. They'll get the wall open. Remember those smokes from Retro coming in. They'll get the cross covered here. Another smoke out, but no an early peek. NJR with some damage, and the smoke being able to be seen through from Eclipse now. He'll take down one.
Easy.
The M590 gets the first and the second. A triple kill now for Eclipse as he'll take control of the entire site once again for DZ. And round 3 slots nicely into Eclipse's pocket. What a round from him. He hides the entire time as Warden John and comes out as practically the Exodia of the deck at the very last moment to take it to Disrupt.
Very good stuff with the Warden clutch coming out there. Perfect example of the use of that operator's utility, and his opponents on Disrupt just had no idea it was coming. So unfortunate for Disrupt. Just once again, they're doing good work making the best out of a low time scenario and coming very close to a plant. Just wasn't expecting the hard counter to show up in Warden off of their 6th pick to bring the smokes into play in the first place there. So not going to be trying that again. We will still see the 6th pick and on the same player for the same operator as well, changing the ace over towards what looks like a Maverick. There we go. It gets confirmed, and DZ will do the exact same thing with their Goyo over towards a Mira.
I mean, who would win? Somebody, an entire team of, practically the best operators in the entire world on Team Rainbow operating at the highest caliber of play, or one guy that has an eye issue with glasses? I mean, It happens. It happens. It's still an amazing round there from DarkZero. The only thing for Disrupt that you can really say is they just simply didn't have any intel in sight, and that's the roughest thing. They had all of those vertical angles. Well, actually, I take all of that back. I now remember Disrupt with the vertical angle upstairs. I believe Iconic or someone on one of the vertical angles that they created, they literally saw Warden sprint all the way across.
He wasn't even 6th picked, was he?
Yeah, now that I'm really getting into this, John, I think they knew and they just botched it. I think they just botched it, man. I think we gotta stop playing softball.
It's more that it's just kind of, it happens. I would argue that it's not that they necessarily botched it. I think that honestly they almost forgot about it, because that type of play it happens so rarely, right? That a Warden actually finds a super impactful through the smoke play, especially here in this region. I can count the number of times I've seen it happen on one hand. So maybe it just threw them off a little bit and they weren't really expecting it ultimately.
Hey, that's true. Always got to keep that ace up your sleeve, and it seems like DarkZero's ace is going to be the Warden. We're not going to see him this time around, as obviously that card has already been played, so they're going to have to go to other portions of their hand, and this time it's going to be the Mira play instead. BC not going back to the Clash, although the impacts worked out very, very well for them, as they were able to hold down Gun Vault the last time, dedicating all 4 of those impacts, well, 3 of them actually, to get rid of all of the Selma charges being tossed at the wall. But this time around, Disrupt aren't going with somebody that can be countered. Instead, They will go with the torch-wielding Maverick instead here for Retro. So we'll see if that is able to get them any other objectives taken, like these walls or anything along those lines. Disrupt still moving from Master across to the south direction here. Have to worry about 90, but no DarkZero members this time around. This is looking quite solid, but obviously remember, DarkZero are playing this out as a delay. They want to play on site and see if they can get this done through utility.
Both teams taking this so slowly for the reasons you just mentioned there. Disrupt being so prolific with their utility usage. DarkZero does not want to make the mistake of being out in the open or out and even exposed to a potential like frag angle or something like that and allow themselves to lose the opening battle once again. This has been a consistent theme for them. Speaking of which, there's those nades rain now. First one's a bit of a miss as I think it banks off the wall slightly, so not too much lost as of yet. They still have 3 more of those, so plenty of opportunities for a rebound at some point in a second. There was just a player inside of Gun Vault too. You can see that opening being prepared by Retro. The team will probably follow through in a second. No angle being given to the player actually defending Gun Vault, though. We can see BC posturing to try and peek out a little bit into 90. He'll definitely do that now that Eclipse has found the opening kill for the team against Retro, who was holding that angle moments before. Eclipse as well, trying to impact to the outside. Banks off the angle of the doorway there. That's a bit of a miss, but either way, still going to allow for DZ to maintain full control over the site. Disrupt cannot get things going, but there we go. Just as I was talking about it, DP Fire gets the trade against Eclipse. BC as well, though, now inside of Study. He's got a Nitro down on the ground, which is going to... oh, never mind! It acts as a warning signal instead to the fact that BC's in that corner. Iconic will just quickly cook a frag and take care of that problem before it even becomes one.
I don't necessarily know what the thought process was there, but I don't think it's going to matter either. DarkZero still have so much utility inside of sight, but Pambazoo will get taken down as well. Hypercells and Nitro Cells will be able to prevent the plant as it'll start now, but it's up to Zofia to try and stop this Nitro Cell. In hand, out, can they get it shot? No, it lands on the door. NJR doesn't have a smoke. The plant goes down. NJR has to try and swing. Sun's out now as well. Hyper pushing up into planes, trying to get forward on this angle here. No one playing the vault. Knows someone's more than likely prone next to the door. BC is currently bleeding out inside of Art Studio, so that's not going to matter in the slightest. Sees a blood trail here. He's going to check one side of the door, but does he check the other? He won't. J9 in the single spot that Hyper is not aware of and ends up finding the second round here for Disrupt as they fight back. What a round there for them.
These rounds that Disrupt are winning are weird, to say the least, because they always seem to show up at the last second with the defining plays that allow them to win the round there. That's not necessarily a bad thing, right? It's just a bit unexpected with regards to how you normally see teams win out a lot of these types of rounds. So Disrupt able to escape twice now under those circumstances, despite it looking like up until that moment DarkZero was going to be able to deny any access to the site quite handily, given the low time that was also approaching.
I'm interested in the move for BC to Study. Obviously, Study is some place that you want to hold on to, especially with a plant that's going down like that. If the offense doesn't hold the angle and play the window that we saw Iconic rotate to, and you're allowed to stay inside of Study, that plant more than likely doesn't happen. The angle is just too strong unless you're actually able to take down BC there, but he ends up getting caught out. He uses that Nitro Cell in a very weird way. I'm going to go along the train of thought of he wanted to try and get it out the window and see if he could blow up the guy on rappel, but that didn't happen. He ends up getting taken down by Iconic, but past that moment they still have what seems to be at least a sufficient enough amount of utility to stop the plant for vault door. That doesn't happen either. The Nitro Cell obviously gets botched from Hyper. The smokes are used too early from the smoke. It just seemed like they hopped too quickly up against Disrupt's offense, and they simply waited it out. They knew they had taken down BC. They had the steady control. The rest of the DarkZero members are locked inside of sight. I mean, what are they going to do with one Nitro Cell and no Toxic Babes?
Just in case you haven't seen it at the top right of your screen, folks, just letting you know we are on a technical pause right now. I'm not sure the reasoning for why, but hopefully just a short or small issue that we get sorted out quickly here. Then we can resume the rest of this match. Either way, though, a very back and forth affair. Disrupt getting away with quite a few rounds inside of their attacking half so far. DarkZero clearly aware of the issues which are leading to their downfall on these rounds. You can tell by the, well, you guys at home can't tell as of yet, but we can tell in game because we can see the operator picks as DarkZero is going to be maxing out quite literally on utility mitigation going into this one. We've got a Jaeger Womai and an Aruni, so they do not want to get tripped up by these frag grenades, which they're constantly getting picked by, along with all the extra utility as well that Disrupt are able to usually get away with inside of these rounds.
Yeah, and we're going to have a 6-pick here from Eclipse as well, I'm assuming on the dock. If this gets locked in, I will be so very surprised. We don't get to see him very often, but in DarkZero fashion, it's probably for a good damn reason. So it looks like, John, you and I are going to be playing I Spy with this setup to see how they utilize Eclipse here, as he's a pretty interesting guy, especially with, well, he's not even using the MP5 either. He's actually using that P90.
Eclipse really throwing us for a number here as he's gonna be changing everything up. And you know what? You guys can change up your in-game looks with that nice Disrupt Gaming R4C skin. You can directly support Disrupt Gaming by purchasing that skin in the store now. Go check it out.
I mean, man, that's a pretty iconic skin. It just looks pretty, one could say retro. I might hop on the shuttle and just, you know, head uptown, maybe get it. How many ways can I trigger Twitch chat in like one sentence? I don't really know. But anyways, definitely go check it out, guys. Beautiful R4C skin. And if you're a terrible human being like me and you love to play that gun, even though they're going to continue to nerf it into the ground and give it no new attachments or anything else, go buy that skin, slap it on there, and well, play like David. I almost said Davide because of Fox, but play like David, play like Iconics.
That's what you use the OXG skin for, actually.
Yeah, that's the dude. Did they drop the new OXG skin yet? I actually haven't been able to see it just yet. I hope it's just a touch better than the John Deere skin.
I was waiting for you to say that. I don't think they've announced their new skin yet. I might be wrong on that, but I haven't seen it personally, so we're gonna be. Well, I don't even know if they have one for the record, but
I mean, yeah, I mean,
I would
just
assume
for the record,
for the record,
I want you to know I bought the John Deere skin because, you know, Midwestern lifestyle, sir. So you got to support. Listen, this is a John Deere family. Get that case out of here. All right. Anyways, moving past things that don't matter at all and moving towards the actual match in DarkZero and what they're doing. They're on an extended hold here, although they will be holding down trophy and statuary. We have an AVG set up here in Pambazoo on the front lines right now, trying to fight back. Currently locked in behind the game's bar, moving forward onto the rotation, has 2 on his bookshelf. It's going to be both of the entries here, Ash and Zofia. Nades out, doesn't have a counter angle here. Fantastic move from Pans. He'll get one. BC with the second as well. DarkZero. What an opening sequence here in AVG.
Disrupt just not expecting such an open and front gunfight, especially at close quarters like we saw with Panba a couple seconds ago. So Disrupt going to lose a massive part of their team as a result of those mistakes. Retro, oh, what a correction to just destroy and rip the head off of Panba. Thought he was dead for sure when he unscoped, but what a way to correct it and quickly save himself. And I'm going to be honest, the rest of Disrupt as well, he goes down there. They lose their hard breach. They've got a clutch 2v4 with a sledge and a nomad. So it's a very good thing that Retro does not die there.
Yeah, I think it's well within our right to say the round is over at that point. Like, you're really not fighting back. And to be honest, this round is still not looking to be good for Disrupt. I mean, just looking across the board of DarkZero, they still have so much utility. NJR has been allowed to exist inside of sight for the entirety of the round, which means every Wamai disc under the sun is down, along with the laser gates, along with the ADSs. So I'll let you do that math for yourself. Eclipse, though, still playing forward inside of Master. This is more than likely going to be the thing that Disrupt could possibly trip over here if they do try to go for this Master adjustment. As of right now, we only have one piece to the puzzle, as it seems like we have the Ace Retro adjusted towards Astronomy window. There's going to be a Nitro Cell out. It won't do the damage necessary, as Retro will only take what seems to be a low-term blast from that Nitro. Some damage off onto the other members as Iconic will bully his way in with 2 big kills. All of a sudden, man advantage to Disrupt with very minimal time. Iconic's so tunnel vision, though, he ends up dropping down. Eclipse with the P90 has so many bullets as well. Can he get the Meg slammed fast enough? He can't even get the initial kill. It's Pistol instead. He'll get the initial one, but he's going to play it for the time. Don't know how much Mag he actually has left inside of this P90. He'll continue to spray. Don't know if he knows exactly where Iconic is either, but he'll be able to dock himself back up, and honestly, this is completely doable.
Iconic incredibly low. It's also important to note that Eclipse absolutely knows where Iconic is playing from right now. Eclipse is going to stim himself up as much as he possibly can. It's an extra 25 HP, basically a free bullet that he can take on the peak right now. Trying to look for his... Oh, he doesn't even expect Iconic to still be in that corner. Slight misread, but either way, it's going to lead to another 1 round going into the hands of our attackers on Disrupt.
Oh, fantastic, Iconic. He points over at DarkZero. He's like, hey, man, I got something for you. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're not out of it just yet, boys. That's the lead right there. Fantastic play coming out from David. That is some awesome stuff. Disrupt taking the lead for the very first time here in between these two. DarkZero now bodes the question. Hey, Villa, how you feeling up against DG on this one? Because we've been talking about DG on Villa for what seems like an eternity now. Every time that we get to this map, we talk about how DG play well on it. We don't really expect teams to really take them here, but you also have to remember there's also quite a bit of VOD on this squad when it comes to this map, so that might be something that plays into it. But as of right now, this is neck and neck, and I have to agree with what England said on Twitter. This is definitely looking like the game of the week.
More than likely going to end up being the case here. Either way, though, not necessarily happening because of a default nature either. This is a very good game to watch these two teams dance around each other. DarkZero trying to figure out how aggressive they can play this defense before they give too much room over to Disrupt to make plays like we saw at the beginning of that last round. Aside from that as well, DarkZero also trying to figure out how to manage the utility game. We can see their operators switching up quite a bit from site to site, going all in on the utility minimizing operators in the last round there, bringing the Jaeger, the Momai, and the Aruni, and now once again a different site brings a different playstyle to the table. A lot of that gets changed up again. The Warden, which clutched things out for them the last time they played this site, obviously going to be making another reappearance. We're also adding the smoke back in for greater delay capability on stopping the players from moving into the site, as well as trying to mitigate the intel game a little bit by bringing Mozzie back into the fold. There's a lot easier trying to figure out here right now.
I mean, honestly, Mozzie is more than likely... Argument-wise, he's probably the best roamer in my eyes in the game right now, just because of the amount of utility you get. You get the Nitro Cell, you used to have the Super Shorty as well, which made it even more crazy, but you have the Pest to be able to set up your own area and make it to where you can't get droned out. On top of that, you have the Roni with the 1.5, which, if you guys haven't noticed across the last year, it's like every single player that is really good at this game's favorite site, and I can tell you exactly why. It's got a singular pixel, one pixel, as the center dot inside of that scope at a slightly magnified range. That's really all you need in any game, and you can start clicking some heads. So that's why you see as many people put that sight on as possible. If the gun has it, they're going to be running that sight. And for somebody like Hyper, this entire kit just sings his name. That's why I love that we're seeing Mozzie out a lot more, especially because of the Pest game and what you're able to do with that. I feel like it adds another layer to Siege in the way that, like, the defense can, technically speaking, drone you out if they want to.
Very interesting change up to the normal gameplay standards that you get, and in fact we have started to see that to a certain extent. I even saw teams, to be fair, this is a very far cry from any sort of normal meta play, but I have seen a couple teams playing around with even doing that on Echo to a certain extent too, using him to sort of aggressively drone things out, but only once or twice. It's just popped up every now and again. By no means is it a mainstay strategy, nor will it become one anytime soon.
Hey, don't you put that past DarkZero. They can make it mainstream right now. SSG is going to do it next week.
Like, I'm trying to remember who I saw doing that now, so I can actually back this point up. Because there was someone who did it like really aggressively in like 1 or 2 games. And I think it was
no, I completely agree.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what it was either. But yeah, that's the beauty of the Yokais now, is that you kind of have to be more aggressive with them, like you're talking about, because you don't have the invisibility, obviously. Yeah. So, but we've also seen them actually be used for what they were used for previously as well, as they've gotten a couple stops. We saw some stops yesterday on Cafe. So I think Echo actually in a pretty solid state right now. I think that honestly the invisibility change, although it did hurt him, might have been for the greater good, but we'll have to see that down the line and see how that continues to go with win rates and everything else. But either way, we're about halfway through this round now, guys, as DarkZero continue to hold on to this bottom floor, at least across from the bomb side. BC, as well as another DarkZero member in tow, will be holding on to this space for the time being, using that cardiac sensor to get some information while Disrupt work this top floor and try and break up some area. But they still have to worry about a single member up top. That's NJR, who'll get taken down immediately, as I mentioned the man's name inside of Astro, and that's why Pambazoo has shifted himself to Astro's stairs to try and assist.
PP Fire once again becoming a massive proponent here for Disrupt in order to propel them into any sort of opening frags. That's the second, if not the third one that he's gotten inside of this half. So some really good stuff from him on the entry game to make sure that Disrupt are always staying ahead, or at least starting off ahead, as we've seen throughout multiple rounds in this half. Aside from that, we've also got a lot of progress being made on opening up those top-down angles, and you would have to assume that that's the case given how low time we already are inside of this round. 43 seconds remaining. Disrupt does need to focus on that transition downstairs, and more importantly, need to focus on how exactly are they going to get themselves past that Warden, who is still going to become an issue when DP Fire more than likely uses those smokes on executes. Never mind though, as Retro now going to go down. Eclipse going to get started a little bit earlier this time as he pushes this straight up laundry doorway with the shotgun in hand.
You guys want to know why that door's barricaded? Because if you punch it, you're gonna get shot in the face. That's why. Like that's exactly the setup. It's all for the sound cue and the M590 swing. DarkZero playing this to a T, but Disrupt bully themselves into sight once again. BC! Oh man, the egg goes off and Hyper seals it. It's gonna be 3-3 on the defense. BC doesn't need grenades to pop off. He just needs people to step in his way.
All you needed there was just Eclipse getting aggressive and everybody else hiding in somewhere where Disrupt didn't expect you, apparently. BC able to come out of the shadows with that double kill at the end. And of course, Eclipse just fragging it out mid-sight there on the ward. And his opponent's thinking that he was going to show up in the middle of the plant. Never mind. He gets right in your face before you even move through the doorway. So really good heads-up play to change up in the moment-to-moment gameplay we were seeing from DarkZero there to make sure they still came out on top of that site defense. Indeed, securing the 3-3 scoreline and now taking us back to an AVG defense for the first round of the switch.
Man, listen, I'm just spitballing here because it's like partially my job and kind of what they pay me for, but like Disrupt, I feel like if your executes are this successful in the way that you're entering into sight, I feel like you can really shift up the pacing here and start to mess with what was going on your offense. It wasn't necessarily a bad half. Obviously, this is a 3-3 split, but I feel like, you know, if they start to shift things up a lot more in the timing of their executes and their clears, this team can be very, very dynamic in the way that they're handling things. You know, that's something that we saw from SSG earlier on in their pacing control and the way that they set things up with their strategy, shifting away onto Ying for certain executes and stuff like that. I definitely think that's something that Disrupt could take a page out of SSG's book, and you know, as well as TSM, we've seen a lot of that adaptability come back to the top and you know, to the surface of Siege yet again from international competition. Michael and I will actually have a conversation earlier on about how NA had progressed from year 3 up until now, and that was one of the big things is like the playstyle just kind of fell off. Everyone kind of got used to the utility mode of having to burn everything, and it really just slowed down everyone. A couple of people didn't adapt back when things finally got changed, and a lot more people did, specifically LATAM. And now NA is presented with this issue where we really weren't playing that style anymore. But you know, things have came to light. TSM's playing fantastic, so is SSG. DarkZero and Disrupt both playing extremely well right now up against each other, but obviously some still minor tweaks and other things to happen as well with this as well with DarkZero.
Another minute gone from the round, and just like the last half, things are pretty quiet at the start here. Both of these teams having a lot of respect for each other. Disrupt, of course, trying to play it back to see where exactly DarkZero will put pressure in the early round and try to adjust accordingly once they figured that out. But DarkZero know that Disrupt as well are been prone to get aggressive if the moment is right for it. So they're also taking things very cautiously, focusing in a big way on their drone game. Back, no! Shuttle, great job, denies the drone intel as he walks in the room. I believe that's what he shot at initially when he went in, and then takes up a pre-fire position to catch Panba when he also repeaks, looking to see where that shot came from a few seconds prior. Great early advantage going over to Disrupt as a result of that play.
Solid start here, and they're going to be able to translate this into a hold across the map. Shuttle with a possibility to get another, possibly 2 here. If he gets the trigger discipline, oh no, he only tags up Eclipse. He'll give up his position inside of Mudroom. Worried about another, but NJR goes down as well. Actually concerned about the opposite angle. That's a fantastic heads-up play there from Shuttle, but simply can't get it up against Eclipse, who shuts him down finally inside of Mud. But that's not before he takes down 2 big pieces here. Panbazoo, the entry down, NJR as well, so they won't have stims or frag grenades to be able to assist them, all except for the last one inside of Eclipse's pocket.
Retro now just waiting for the opportunity to succeed. He actually spots an angle where he can chuck the gas grenade down to the bottom of main, and he's going to use that. As you can see, we'll switch the perspective over to the more relevant player. DP Fire obviously facing off against quite a few, trying to jump down on top of him. So these extra smoke grenades, or gas grenades, excuse me, to fend off the extra time is going to be more than welcome for DP Fire in this situation, as it allows him to focus just a tad more on the action going on towards Study and making sure that he can stay alive and possibly fall back if the need arises. He's not going to have that chance, though.
No way.
He's going to kill 2 players. Only gets 1, though. Immediately exchanged out by Hyper, but that won't matter as Retro and J90 pick up the remaining exchanges and shut down the round.
Disrupt getting forceful at the proper times, loving this swing off of the actual site. DarkZero don't have much control of Study or anything on the second floor. They're trying to force their way up main, and the trades just continue to ensue. Disrupt, obviously knowing they're at man advantage, force the opposition and able to take down all the DarkZero members. Very well done. Obviously, the early engagements there from DZ not working out. We saw that pick go down inside of Kitchen from Disrupt, from Shuttle, but he ends up getting caught out in Mud, but not before they were able able to get those 2 trades. Shuttle 2-for-1s himself and sets up Disrupt for success going into the late round, and it surely did pay off. That's going to shift us, though, into a dining room kitchen defense. Not only that, but a shift in operators as well. A 6-pick away from the Mira and onto, well, a pretty infamous operator nowadays, as people are starting to really find her a popular pick inside of certain situations. It's Frost with her Frost mats.
And I believe this is one of the maps where she has proven herself to become more prevalent. I know specifically I have seen her used on this site by at least one other team here in the NAL. So starting to show up again. Like I said, it's still for the most part in specific situations and specific sites more than anything, but it's become a consistent mainstay, as we mentioned a couple times now, whenever she gets brought in.
Yeah, and the reasoning for that is because, what you're asking for, like parameters, right? Like why is she used on this bomb site and not? The reasoning for that, to bring her on certain bomb sites and not others, is simply Windows. I know that might sound as like the simple thing, but that's truthfully what it is. Is there easy access to the bomb site via Windows? Are they going to try and hop through those? And if they are, then we're going to bring Frost. The reasoning for that is because it forces you into a 50-50 between shooting the Frost mat and taking the gunfight of the person holding the window. And you know, if I don't know if you guys can do math, I'm not too hot at it, so I might need some help. But 2-on-1 really isn't the easiest thing. And if you kill the guy, you get down in a Frost mat. You kill the Frost mat, the guy kills you. So there's really no win-win scenario there for you unless you're able to get rid of the Frost mat. That's why we've been seeing people like Chala, most notably, running her all the time on a bomb site like Master on Clubhouse.
It's also not a very difficult operator to incorporate, once again. And we talk about this too. The simplicity of operators often can come in as a big factor here. And much like Jaeger, Frost is very much a set it and forget it type operator. You just put those things down and you really don't have to touch them throughout the rest of the round. It's just going to be a constant issue for your opponents. So that gives DP Fire, who, again, DP Fire has been really prevalent, and especially when it comes to first kill opportunities, has been front and center for Disrupt in this matchup. You give him a role where he doesn't need to worry about constant usage of his gadgets and can just place it down in the prep phase. That gives him a lot more time to worry about the things where he's been excelling at inside of this matchup, which is getting those opening kills, and obviously from the defensive side, trying to deny any opportunities for DZ.
Well, speaking of DZ, they're starting to work the top floor here as they're looking to master for their stomping grounds initially. As for Disrupt, though, they're going to be holding on to Astro, as well as obviously the kitchen bomb site down low. J9 locking up the pantry wall with the Kaid. Obviously that mute ban coming out, so Kaid going to be the best operator in this situation for holding down a multitude of these walls from pretty cheeky angles, like what we saw earlier as he put that Electro Claw inside of the wardrobe. Iconic now looking for the drop. He'll simply slink on down. Still have the rest of his setup down here as well, as DG were ready for a Tarps execute, it seemed, from DarkZero, but that's not going to be the case as they begin to shift this utility around. Retro now looking for a Nitro cell here inside of the kitchen area on the ceiling, as well. The breakup is going to start, and that's exactly what we expected. Panbazoo just not having the greatest day, as well. That's going to be 1, 2, and 8 for him.
More intel still going over to Disrupt. Retro trying to throw out his own right there after getting the intel from the Cardiac, but he's a little bit too late on the toss, so that's going to get left on the floor for the foreseeable future until another opportunity shows up for Retro or someone else on the squad. DarkZero, though, with 30 seconds left, aren't really going to give themselves a massive chance to find another opportunity. The quick switch has put BC in position from the laundry wall to try and push forward, and he's going to get some support from Tarps if his teammate can successfully push in. This will be Hyper moving from that direction, and is given free access, so is allowed to sneak right into the site. A great possibility on the opening duel here, as well as he has the exact intel of the player in Pantry. Iconic can't really get aggressive against this, so Eclipse on top of that, getting 2 more kills, has put DZ in a great spot. Retro's trying to reverse their fortune right now, but smokes are in the way. He can't find the planter anymore. That goes down on the ground. BC defends himself as all of a sudden he gets jumped on by one of his opponents, and ultimately, with 1 more kill, DZ are able to control that round.
Okay, BC is just, he's in it today. He's in the fray, John. Every single time that we've seen him, he's just in some desperate area, having to make it work, and he gets it done every single time. This man plants, immediately hits the prone, and ends up taking down the pulse of Retro. So some fantastic play there. DarkZero able to tie things up once again here as they're able to get that master take to go off. Able to get the at least top clear and push Disrupt back downstairs, find those initial frags, and get forceful with the dining area. I think that the biggest thing there is that, funny enough, Disrupt were actually set up for this take, and then they shifted all of their stuff, and DarkZero then went with that take. That's exactly what happened. We actually ended up seeing Hyper go down into Tarps, and that's where he played for the majority of the end game there. And just really, really rough for them. But things that aren't rough, guys, the new DarkZero skin. Let's talk about that for a bit. That ARX, first of all, fantastic gun, but the skin even better. Make sure you guys go check it out. They made a pretty cool comic book thing on Twitter as well. So make sure you guys go check out their Twitter page as well for all the information on that. But overall, you got to check out the esports store in game right now for all of those skins, because man, are they beautiful.
Indeed. Check those out. Let's get back into the matchup, though. It's still a dead heat between these teams at 4-4. Both of them looking for that pivotal 7th round, but only one of them can get it, and maybe neither of them will end up getting it with the way things are going. OT certainly in the cards also. DarkZero, no surprise there that we got a slow start to the round yet again. DP Fire looking to get into the way of that, though. He's back on the Mozzie this time around, denying any drone intel to work its way through Art Studio, but he's still being cognizant of them coming from other directions, as he is in a bit of a risky position right now. He's not entirely alone. He does have a slight amount of support from Iconic, although it's going to be difficult for him to try and actively help out. More than likely, it would be in the form of a trade from the grave or something like that. But either way, Iconic, okay, there you go. A free one in its nature right there, as he hops right out, Eclipse in the corner, checking his phone, checking his notifications, and ultimately dying as a result of that.
Man, I gotta stop tweeting at him. That's my bad. Apologies, everybody.
I can't believe you did that.
Dude, that's all on me. And speaking of which, Disrupt and DP Fire getting away with a lot right now. Iconic hops out the window, claims Eclipse, NJR next, so they're not going to be able to track any of these roamers. DarkZero, worse for wear. It's kind of an understatement at this point. They'll still have hard breach, though. That's truthfully what matters at the end of the day. They just need to be cognizant of the refrags that they need right now. They cannot trade. They actually, honestly, can't even refrag. They have to come out on top of these engagements. That's why you see BC playing so safely right now, as he's manning 2 separate angles all at once. Still plenty of map to clear out, as well as DP Fire still down low, and there's a multitude of nitro cells here as well. So if there's any insight on site, that's a nitro cell that can more than likely take out a member. And speaking of which, DP Fire will do exactly that as Pambazoo meets his maker yet again.
DP Fire continuing to impress inside of these rounds here. Another great pickup for him, and that's after he already found the one from the inside of Art Studio and Piano. Also, BC finally gets a target in his crosshairs. Unfortunately, not really able to do the damage he would have liked, as it's just a couple shots in a Retro's back to bring him down to a little over 50. Speaking of 50, we've got about 55 seconds left on the clock. DarkZero, obviously a lot of time to play this out. They are of no shortage in that regard, but they only have 1 drone each. There's a lot of unhandled elements from Disrupt spread out across this map, and it's just too much to ask them to handle it in the 2vx, or 2v5 to be clear. Disrupt going to be able to shut that one down, push themselves forward, and within 2 rounds of closing out this map now.
See, that right there was perfectly timed on the aggressive plays from the defense. That's what I want to see more of on Disrupt's offensive sides. If they're able to translate that, oh man, that would be so beautiful inside of their early rounds. But that's neither here nor there. What matters is Disrupt had a fantastic round, was able to pick up 2 big players early on inside of that one, eliminating the Sledge and the Jackal, making it damn near impossible for DarkZero to actually do anything when it came down to forcing their way into the bomb site. Everybody got picked off actually off of the bomb site, all except for BC, who was inside of a 1v5 and simply hopped his own breach into statuary. He didn't really have a chance at all. Yeah, he gets a gunfight with Jaeger, but past that, that's more than likely going to get traded instantly. That round was over inside of the first minute and a half.
All right, so we got the double treble composition coming in now for Disrupt, as we've got both forms of utility delay coming out between Retro and J9O, both the Chachanka as well as the Smoke. So quite a bit that DarkZero will either have to open up enough paths so that it's not a concern for them, or at minimum try to burn the large majority of that out before we hit the 20-second marker, where Disrupt will just be able to spam that stuff all the way across their site here and pretty much deny any sort of positive execute for DarkZero. We'll see if it pans out. We did see, I believe, Beast Coast used this in yesterday's game on Cafe, although it didn't end up being too successful because the Tachanka got picked early on. Time to see if Disrupt can use it a bit better.
Well, I would say that the best Tachanka play that we've seen so far inside of our league would definitely be Bolo and TSM strategy on Oregon. I think that that's definitely the best that I've seen so far, with the way that they use Smoke to man Laundry, or obviously like Construction, whichever way they're going to take, and then they use Tachanka for Freezer to lock things up based off of the barbed wire noise inside of the Freezer hallway. It's just so smart, because Tachanka nowadays really does play more like Smoke than any other operator. He just denies space and forces you back. You can't push through those flames on unless you want to risk yourself dying. So really, really big deal that he has actually worked his way into the meta for a couple of these teams. And honestly, guys, when it comes back to international competition, expect to see this a little bit more often as people get used to having him inside of their lineups and playing around him.
Yeah, people still figuring it out, so it's still a bit of a rare pick for the most part, but we're starting to see it more and more as people get more comfortable with it. So like Stokes said, definitely expect to see that become more and more prevalent, I would assume, over the coming months. For the coming seconds, though, we need to see how exactly DarkZero is going to start their initial take, and it looks like Astro is the way forward here. NJR picking up the Jackal yet again, going to get the early intel on the fact that, first of all, they have the Warden in place. They'll be very much aware of that, considering how much they were able to use it in the previous half. But unfortunately not going to be able to act on the intel all that much, as he is long gone, much closer to the actual site. So nothing that a JR can do to follow that up. Still some aggressive positions set up for Disrupt, specifically Shuttle over here at 90. He's seen the drone come around the corner and is still going to stick to that position regardless. So may end up in a bit of a riskier fight later on in the round, but the good news is he has the shield to support him also from the doorway now that he's fallen back by a couple steps. You got your usual setups for the defenders aside from that too. The main stairs position with two players looking to hold control of that. Probably some active defense put towards the study doorway also, but it's all boiling down in that 90 direction right now, as well as the doorway into aviation. No resistance on the opening of Gun Vault, so that's going to pop very quickly. DarkZero already getting themselves a lot of options to work off of, and even worse, Shuttle recommits to that aggressive angle and has himself killed as a result of that.
Well, almost had it on the timing there. I was just about to talk about how Shuttle just so good when it comes down to the vector gameplay. We've seen him time and time again win out these frags, but oh my god, iconic. What a shot. He slides that bullet right through there, threads the needle into Hyper Skull. What a kill coming out from him. That might be the round difference maker there, but Iconic gets a little bold. He'll get taken down from Pambazoo, but the smoke's coming out now. Also, Chonka utility coming through to burn. They know someone's inside a gun vault, but now it's forceful from DarkZero. They're actually backing off DG. Retro still with some smokes. They don't have the bomb either. They're actually going to assumingly rotate out into 90. I don't think DP Fire's ready for this. He's not. The Ashes there will pop the Goyo shield. Pambazoo goes down. This round is hell in a cell right now. Eclipse dead as well. DP Fire, Retro, Disrupt. What? They disrupt the process, John. That made no sense at all. They're able to get it to go off. DarkZero try and adapt. We see the play from Pambazoo, but they just don't have any of it. They're not able to get the plan off. Just too much utility stacked inside a site.
Really nice heads-up play coming in there, specifically from the player that was stuck over DP Fire, that was stuck just by the doorway leading into bar. The choice to self-immolate the Goyo shield there works out perfectly, as it was not dealt with by the attackers, was not dealt with by Panba. I think he would have been out of utility by that point in the round, but either way, inside of the chaos of that scenario, DP Fire knows it's a massive risk to try and fight this out normally. So what does he do? Oh, I've got this nice little explosive device right here. Just blow that up. Deal with the threat from that side, and like you said, it's just a hell in a cell battle from behind the bar at that point forward. It's like that scene, it's like a scene out of like Inglourious Bastards or something like that as well, for people who have seen that. They're just fighting left and right to try to come out on top of that, and they thankfully do, putting them up on map and match point now.
I just want to see that in like the next TikToker boxing match or something like that. That's what I'm ready for.
That was incredibly well played by those two players there to come out on top of that one. So Disrupt now up on map and match point, and DarkZero got to figure something out here to stay in it over the next two rounds.
That round is like, especially timing-wise, inside of the story of this entire map so far, that was like the worst round for that to happen to them, because Disrupt are up and on to match and map point. If they win this, they end up winning 7-4 here, and then all of our stories are thrown out the window because DarkZero beat SSG, but SSG did this, and then that, and A and B, and X, and Y, and Z. Yeah, basically, guys, none of us really know. So we're all going to figure it out together, but it all starts here. What can DarkZero do? How can they bounce back from that previous round? Honestly, my favorite part of that definitely has to be the Goyo shield too. It just reminded me of like the first time you play Pokemon and like Voltorb comes out and he's just like, oh, this Pokemon's cool, self-destruct.
That was the most exciting part for me, right? Just because normally those get dealt with by that point in the round. So the defenders almost never have that option to use it in that way. Very rarely do you get to see that happen. And finally, DP Fire got the chance right there. So really good stuff from him. Very exciting to see that unfold. And as well, great management of the 2vX from that point forward, as they had almost no room to work with there. They were both just stuck behind the bar. Okay, well, finally got through the breakdown of that. Just insane.
Last 30 seconds there. So we're already a minute into the next round. Not too much action happening across the board. Disrupt with an extended hold again here, as they will be playing a multitude of different angles from the lower level. They've popped a lot of these and made it to where transitioning through doors on the top floor is very difficult. This is something that's happened in Siege for a very long time, but the issue is now, as you can see, Hyper has to worry about every single one of these angles. This is where things can become very problematic when it comes to timing, but now that DarkZero have this top floor control, they'll be able to abuse this as well, as Pambazu uses one of his breaching rounds on Tarp's wall. So he'll breach that. They won't be able to hold onto that area for much longer as Disrupt slowly trickle off of the top floor from the Astro area.
And we're continuing to move forward here for DZ as they get more and more control over the second floor. Disrupt has handed it over for the most part here, but Disrupt also not losing anyone in the process here creates a powder keg of action in the late round to potentially explode onto DarkZero if they're not going to be expecting it. This extends across a large majority of the first floor, going, as you can see, from DP Fire and Shuttle all the way across over to the living room as well. So DarkZero will be aware of this. It's a pretty common tactic to play into your late game this way by extending across the red hallway and denying most of the horizontal access that DarkZero would be able to get normally just by hopping downstairs. This is a nice nade against Retro, but he reacts quickly enough to save his own life, only losing about a third of his HP overall. And I think it's caught again on the cross, going back to his original position, and that will give it away. Panba very well aware of the fact that he's here, and on top of that other kill from Hyper, things are looking good for TZ. Panba finally pushing it forward. Another error here as well, as he gets a second kill on the inside of the site, leaving it all onto DP Fire after NJR takes down Shuttle.
Pambazu, not a great game so far, but a great round for him now. 1 kill. That's all he had to start this, and now he has 4. Looking for 5 now is DP Fire. It's the only thing that separates them from staying inside of this map. DP Fire hops down into red. He transitioned up the astronomy stairs to try and see if anybody was playing vertical, but nobody is. Instead, just playing this on a horizontal basis as of right now, and they have a multitude of different angles across this as well, most notably around the laundry area. Still have to worry about one inside a kitchen, though, and that is going to be Pambazu, and he's got the lead off contact and the lead off kill. Fantastic stuff here for Pambazu as he simply fights his way through Tarps, takes down the pulse, takes down the smoke, and seals the clutch away from Disrupt as well. We're going to max inside of regulation. A
great round again, not to push this point too much, but Panba there having a really great round in and of itself. He's had a bit of a quiet game up until this point, and a lot of ways through no fault of his own as well, just being the kind of unlucky first victim of a lot of the antics that Disrupt has been throwing out here, and as a result of that, hasn't always had a chance to shine. That's not to say he's been completely blameless in that regard, but finally seeing him step up and pick up a massive number of kills for the DarkZero push inside of that round. Great to see from the new member once again. Time to see if we can keep that going now. Like you said, they need that one final round as we do go to full time, as DarkZero try to take it to OT, which would guarantee them at least 1 point inside of this matchup, even if they lose in OT.
Well, John, I'm very excited. You know why I'm excited?
Why is that? Sorry, muted for a second.
Because we got a game, bro.
We got a game, man. It happened. Guys, everyone, quick claps in the chat. Everyone clap real quick.
I thought something was wrong with your mic for a second.
No, nothing wrong. Nothing wrong at all. I'm very excited that we got some quality matches inside of the NAL for this week that weren't just simply a blowout and everyone having to go back to the drawing board and all of us just oh, well, we really don't know what's gonna happen. Like, I want to see people play at a high level and do crazy stuff like Iconic. That's what I'm here for. That's what I cast the game for. That's why I'm even in esports in the first place. So I'm happy that we're here. I'm happy that we're at the max round inside of regulation, because this map especially deserved it out of all of them. I mean, look across these boards right now, especially for Disrupt. I'm very, very happy for them, especially in the likes of DP Fire. This pickup from CL is looking so very good, especially coming from the same team that we saw Razor on. Now, the big thing with that is obviously you can't directly compare them, as these are two completely different teams. They work completely separate from each other and more than likely have a lot of different things going on when it comes to the way that they think about the game. But all that aside, DP Fire looks to be the best CL pickup for this stage.
Obviously only a little bit of the way through the stage too, so still plenty of opportunity for these other players to step things up over the remaining matches and playdays that we still have coming up. But I agree with you right now. DP Fire certainly seeming like a great pickup for Disrupt and is slotting in incredibly well. Time to see if he can be the player that seals the deal for them one more time inside of this round. That would push them over the edge for a win versus DarkZero, and with a full 3-point spread to come with it as well. DarkZero need to win this round in order to guarantee any sort of point total. Otherwise, they'll be going home with nothing today, and that's not what they want. Remember, it's important to remember that with the 2021 SI point system, you need to make it to the major itself in order to gain those points. So
Indeed.
a lot of these teams fighting very hard for top positions to make sure they can get to the major coming up soon.
Yeah, as much as sometimes these games don't seem like they necessarily matter, oh, they do. They do when it comes down to wanting to win tournaments, even getting to tournaments. The seasons and stages really, really do matter. So these score lines, especially for DarkZero right now, having that win up against SSG, they need to continue to try and stack wins here. They've only lost once so far. This time around, though, they'll have to be forced into OT if they do want to win it, and obviously that means 2 points if they do, unless Disrupt are able to close them out here. Then everything that we've been talking about really doesn't matter too much. We'll see DG pick up those 3 points and DarkZero starve at least for today. But now a minute on the board here. DarkZero starting to get forceful clips straight out from benches. He'll be able to get 2. SMG 11 out. He'll get 3. Make it 4 if he can. Moving in through split right now. Doesn't he know that the man's tight right? He doesn't. DarkZero all over this one, but it's Eclipse all over Disrupt. DP Fire has to attempt the clutch. They know exactly where he is. It's the hop over for Eclipse as he's feeling himself, but he'll immediately die to the Roni, but that's not going to matter. Pambazoo, apparently I was talking too much mess about the CL thing, is able to hit the nice rotate and ends up taking down the last man. DarkZero, shut me up and force us to overtime.
I think DP Fire's better than me. Nah, clearly not the case in that round there, as Eclipse is allowed to waltz his way into statue because everyone on Disrupt is focused on the trophy push. That's the first thing that happens. The players push in from trophy first, and it's a bit of tunnel vision, it looks like, from the DG side of things, as they fully focus on stopping that. No one's really paying attention to Eclipse, so he runs right in and picks up 2 to 3 different kills there, shutting down any valid attempt of stopping that play from at minimum getting DarkZero control over the site, and then forcing it into a post plant where they had such little manpower that it really wasn't workable either for DP Fire or anyone else that might have still been alive at that point. Bit risky for DarkZero as it's reliant on getting those entries, but considering they probably had all the intel they needed to make that happen right before they went in, they knew it was going to work, and what a way it worked for DarkZero to push this into OT. 3 more rounds up on the board now, folks. The team that wins 2 of them gets the win today, but unfortunately is not going to get those full 3 points anymore. Only 2 for the winner here.
Yes, sir, and whoever the loser is isn't going to be, well, a full loser. They're actually going to end up getting a point, so actually a pretty big deal when it comes to the grand scheme of things. Either way, though, now that we're into overtime, we get to talk about a pretty interesting statistic brought up by our analyst, Jesse, that you guys all know and love so very much. DZ have yet to lose an overtime round this stage. They're 4 for 4 right now on OT rounds. So that means that, technically speaking, by statistics, it should be an 8-6, but I'm assuming Disrupt are more than likely going to get in the way of that.
You would hope so with the way the Disrupt have been playing. A lot of great stuff coming out from them, slowing down just a little bit towards the end of those attacking, or excuse me, towards the end of those defensive rounds as DarkZero. There's a few unexpected plays at them that they just weren't able to handle because of the quickness with which DarkZero deployed them. Either way, though, Disrupt at minimum got them to the 6 points, so they do have a chance in this OT as well. They're really looking to use that there. The double trouble comp has come back out once again for the hold over towards AVG, as they'll try to solidify things and push themselves up to 7 yet again on a site they've already been able to control.
Okay, I think I got the tagline for this line, or for this lineup. You ready?
What's up?
Where there's smoke, there's fire. All right, anyways, we're going to move on from that because I'm going to laugh too long and ruin the broadcast for everybody at home and their beautiful ears. So, anyways, DarkZero and Disrupt still, guys, jumping through these hoops. And Disrupt, as we were talking about with that lineup. Shuttle once again on the roam here, as we were talking about earlier. He's just so strong when it comes to specifically this vector play. He can do it with any gun, but I'm telling you, this guy is insane when it comes to this weapon. We've seen him battle himself out of so many situations simply because of that firearm at rate of fire, really assisting in certain scenarios. We'll see if he's able to get it to go off yet again, as Disrupt are going to be running things quite similar to what we saw last time, as we see the now infamous Goyo shield sitting in the rotation.
You can see Hyper, NBC playing together to restrict any sort of 90 access. Hyper, of course, denying the players from committing to the swing here. All at the same time, his teammate on the window takes care of the hard breach nice and quickly here. DP Fire having to fall back a little bit as a result of that. Jan, I know, also going to need to get in the way of things closer to Gun Vault here. But either way, DarkZero have the angle open, I believe anyway, that they needed to access for themselves. Disrupt now having to play out a little bit differently as a result of that, although they haven't necessarily lost full study control just as of yet. So there's a possibility for them to commit deeper to the inside of that and play into it. However, they're going to lose that possibility in a second if there isn't anyone in there right now. Eclipse and probably a few more members of DarkZero are moving over there now to take control with the final 30 seconds before the execute begins, but the execute's going to get stopped before it even starts. Iconic ripping the head off of Panba here. Jane, I know, doing the same to Hyper. Now, we more than likely are going to see the diffuser go down, but NJR might also die as a result of that. You can see he's burning out. DP Fire's taking down Eclipse. NJR, who was just burning out a second ago, now the only player left alive, and he has to go against the entire roster with 35 seconds left. He's going to try and survive here somehow. This is not going to be an easy task. You could see that drone preset on the red stairs to assist him, but right here doesn't have the angle to play it out. There was a flight coming up red for him anyway, and with the full 5-man spread still alive on Disrupt, they make easy work of reclaiming that diffuser and winning the initial round of OT.
Oh, Disrupt. They are looking so very good right now on these defenses, but we're going to be shifting things up back to the offense. This is where we talked about in their previous rounds, ended up splitting the half 3-3 when DZ did have their defense. So an opportune moment here for both of these squads to pick up the round, but that round in particular that we just saw, fantastic from Disrupt, flawless. As DarkZero attempt to get the plant down, they'll be successful in doing so, but in the process lose every single member except NJR. As well, Disrupt are simply able to fight back through utility as well as overall firepower, especially inside of the study area, just making it extremely difficult for DZ to try and coexist in that area. As for now, though, DarkZero once again back onto defense for this round as they're trying to make their last stand on trophy and stat.
We're going to see the tactical timeout come in from DarkZero here as well. They've got about 30 seconds left on it. It's just taking another look at the replays inside of that round. Some really good stuff coming out in the heat of the moment there for the Disrupt roster as well. That is an area where they were struggling a tad inside of regulation, so good to see that they're able to get control over those more chaotic executes and what very well might have been their final defensive round of the map. One more attack goes into their favor, and they are sitting nice and pretty at an 8-6 scoreline, looking to close this one out. Also pushing DarkZero into a much more negative record for OT, as I believe you brought that stat line up earlier. Either way, though, DZ going to stick with the same site as we'll go back to a trophy and statuary defense now that the pause has concluded. We're heading back into the game.
Your memory's sharp today, man. That's exactly what we were talking about. Yeah, 4-4 on overtime rounds up until that one when DarkZero lose their first OT of the stage 2. So looks like Disrupt might have their number. We'll see if they're able to fully get this frag onto the DarkZero roster and end up winning this game. Only that one round, and it's going to be on trophy statuary yet again. And not only that, but it looks like we're going to have a closet set up here for DZ as well, at least in the ADSs. We'll see how far this is going to transition. They are going to bring the full breadth of utility denial in the likes of Hyper Eclipse and Hyper NJR and Panbazoo, and then just Eclipse and BC along for the ride, but also bringing some very potent operators here. Really like this Mira pickup for BC. I want to see how they try to use this.
This is going to be a very annoying lineup for a Disrupt to deal with. All of these operators bring utility, which you can't really ignore in a lot of ways. You're going to have to deal with all 5 of the operators' utility spread in some way, shape, or form on the inside of this round. So we'll have to see how much time will get wasted by Disrupt trying to handle these little situations, such as what we have set up right now for Hyper to play from. Unsure if this was intentional to have the mirror window breached open, considering we have a Twitch drone roaming around somewhere, so good possibility that could be why that's open right now, but we'll see how DarkZero play this and take a better look at that.
Well, while we're getting into the opening ensemble of this round, I'm really happy with Panbazoo's play here, John, because, you know, he didn't start this game off extremely well. And, you know, when you're down 0-6 and you haven't been able to find frags or anything for your team, that's a really, really big deal. And that's something that weighs on your conscience. But, you know, I'd rather go 0 for 30 than 0 for 9, because you go 0 for 9, that means you stop shooting. That means you lost confidence. That's what Dion Waiters said a little while ago. And I think that that's a really big deal here. This is already showing that Panbazoo knows what it's about. It's not just about him. It's about the team win. And he's here to help them find success. We'll see if this round continues to go well for them, as this first opening minute has at least been strong. They've been able to delay a little bit over inside of AVG, but Disrupt, not necessarily with the angles for the cutoff under the transition here just yet. At least have Iconic here for 90, but that's just going to be it.
Yeah, should be able to clear their way through AVG without too much of an issue now, says DarkZero gives that up after wasting out the first minute or so of the round. There is going to be quite a bit of utility left on the floor as a result of them giving up that position, with the most notable one being the single Surya gate on the study and aviation transition, but should have more than enough still on the site itself, considering it's more than likely just going to be 2 of those that would be needed to fend off the rest of Disrupt to execute, but we'll get a better picture as to what that setup looks like now that we switch back over to these players that are a bit closer to it. You can see DarkZero covering all of their assets, including the skylight as well, as unlikely as that may seem for Disrupt to try and use that at this point. And DarkZero obviously does not have all the intel we have. As we see the last minute coming upon us, Disrupt very much ready at the connector to try to start pushing their way forward. They're going to need really more than this, though, in order to work their way in. You still have the master control that's going to be problematic if they try to swing directly in, as well as a whole other host of issues, but they're going for it regardless. Starts off in a 1-for-1 exchange, but Panba rips apart 2 players. NJR does the rest of the work as he gets the final 2, and DZ respond to pick up another tying point.
I'll be really honest. I don't really understand what Disrupt was trying to go for here.
Yeah.
I like. Okay, so what I saw was this. What I saw was Ace shift across. We see Retro go all the way over to Astro Window and start working that. But the issue is that he's only handling astronomy. The thing I'm assuming that they wanted there was to try and force people out of astronomy simply because of his presence, get them into some areas where they can't necessarily be safe from the people pushing Boar. But DP fires there, and he's able to take down 2, and then the last one gets traded out anyways. It really wasn't that big of a deal for DarkZero to try and deal with because they had all the manpower there anyways. They didn't get any lead-off picks to make it to where they're at a man advantage and they can trade down. There was really nothing there for DG, and as you said, no master control either. They didn't try and shift across or anything. It simply seemed like they went for the most simple, straightforward push they can think of, slap somebody on Astro Window and try and get forceful from the other side and see what happens, and it just simply didn't work.
So going into the ultimate round of this map now, 7-7, it goes all the way, and it all comes down to one final round. Disrupt get the defensive side of this one as well. It could be a bit of a double-edged sword with the way that these rounds have been playing out. No true leader with regards to the side selection here is the first half at minimum, and the second half as well. Ends up going in a 3-3 fashion, so Disrupt hoping that they can close things out, but there is no guarantee based on the side alone that that is going to come true. Obviously going to be bringing a lot of utility denial, but we've also got some other interesting tidbits on the defense here, as we're going to see a castle brought in from J90, and on top of that, we'll also have another Mira reappearing for Iconic. Just starting to see those mirrors goes down, as that one, I believe, is going to be placed on the inside. That's an interesting one over here, Bookcase 90 to play off of, and the second we should see soon.
Some solid information on that one. I actually really like that setup here for, I believe that's Shuttle, isn't it? Yes, it is indeed.
My colleagues are going to play there.
Yeah, so Shuttle, more than likely going to be holding that down with Aroni, and that's exactly what he'll be doing. As for the Castle setup, though, Castle and Aroni have started to get partnered together quite often here because you actually have to burn 2 pieces of utility to get rid of any of Castle's barricades. The synergy between these 2 utility pieces is just so very strong because it prevents people from shooting through the laser gate, which is obviously the biggest thing about laser gates. They prevent all of the utility and people from running through them, but not exactly lead. So when you put something there that stops lead now, it's quite a big deal. Although DarkZero looking to start to break things up as they're hopping to immediately. They're already starting things off on bathroom. DP Fire catching some resistance inside of the bathroom, and it's a lot more than resistance. It seems to be the whole frag grenade as that shrapnel charge goes off at his feet and eviscerates DP Fire. DarkZero starting to jump ahead.
Feel bad for DP Fire. There's so much blowing up in his face. He couldn't even track the projectile, so tries his best to go where he thought it was going to be safe and maybe would have lucked out despite the red indicator, but clearly not the case. That is a clean opener, though, for DarkZero, and deals with one of the more pivotal issues that was going to pop up for them in this round, that being the extended hold and walk-in. They deal with it without losing a single bit of HP. Yes, they have to use some of their utility, but I'm pretty sure only one of the 2 frag grenades was used. Yeah, Clip still has another one in his pocket right there, so sitting in pretty good shape right now, considering that.
This round, although obviously a man up for DarkZero, is still extremely close. Disrupt still have a very good chance to take this, and obviously whoever wins this round, they're going home with 2 points. This is quite the big deal to both of these squads. Iconic will back off from Statue over towards Trophy. As Eclipse will take down 1. Iconic gets way too aggressive through the rotate, and he'll get taken down as well. DarkZero with a flawless round so far. Disrupt have to try and fight back. Retro takes down 1, but where is Shuttle? We need to see that name inside of the kill feed as Retro's trying to hold down multiple multiple angles. He'll finally get flanked from Pambazoo. They complete the clear of Astronomy, and they'll complete the clear of Disrupt. They might lose their first overtime round, but they won't lose the map. And at the end of the day, John, that's what really matters. DarkZero beat Disrupt on arguably one of their best maps.
DarkZero with an incredible rebound there in the final 2 rounds. And Disrupt, so unfortunate. The rounds were looking so promising, especially earlier on in the matchup. Ultimately beating themselves out here in the final round due to some overcommitments and a few smaller mistakes with how they were handling their aggression and the moment-to-moment action. Still, a very well-fought match ultimately by Disrupt. A lot to write home about, especially for DP Fire inside of the regulation rounds. But for DarkZero, when you had players like Eclipse firing off just as well from the other side, they ended up being the superior team here today, and they take the win in overtime for a positive 2 points to go on the board for them in the overall rankings. Disrupt also not going to go home empty-handed, of course. They will still get that single point on the ratings for taking it to overtime at least.
Yeah, and what a great game in between these two. As you said, I mean, neck and neck the entire time, and obviously across the scoreboard, a really good match for every single one of these players. Even Pambazoo, I know we talked about it earlier on, you know, he started off 1-6, but eventually translates that into some very, very big rounds late. And John, I think that's the biggest thing for DarkZero here. Pambazoo wakes up, realizes, hey, I'm not doing my part here. I need to start getting these frags, get in, start assisting my team, and he does so with flying colors. I mean, DarkZero really showing up when it counts.
And it was really just that one round, right, where he gets the entries that we start to see that switch up happen, at least for me personally, where he's able to go in against the kitchen defense there and pick up those 2 to 3 entries. From that point forward, he is the leading player for DarkZero in a large majority of their rounds, and a very big reason why they're able to close out a lot of the important ones that they do from that point forward. So great stuff to Pambo, once again, stepping things up there for a little bit of a bumpy start. Unfortunately, Disrupt is not able to counter out that pressure, and as such falter in the very final round of overtime. It's unfortunate for them, and it is going to close things out for myself and Stokes today, but keep the discussion rolling here for just a second longer here. Stokes, looking at the board now, what do we think is going to be in the future for Disrupt after this matchup? What do we think they need to look at and clean things up here after that match?
Honestly, I think the thing that Easley is going to focus on is what's happening inside of those mid-round and late-round engagements, when it's those split-second decision-making moments where they're just overextending themselves and they end up getting taken down. That's really about it. It's just overexerting their force, and DarkZero in those scenarios was able to capitalize on that situation because of that. Instead of just losing one member, they're losing 2 or even 3 at some moments. So that's something that they're going to want to focus on. But as for the rest of what they've been doing, I think Disrupt's playing fantastic for what it is right now. New coach in, new player in, DP Fire's playing great, Iconic's playing great, Retro looks fantastic. I think across the board, Disrupt have what it takes to be a top 4 team still. They just need to get this book solid and set inside of their own heads.
All right, like some points there, Stokes, and now that is finally going to do it for myself and him. We're going to throw it back down to Veli and the boys one final time in order to break down arguably the best match of the week here at the NAL.
I mean, I know you're being nice right now, but the best match of the week definitely, because it wasn't a blowout. We got overtime in a full game right there. Ladies and gentlemen, we just had a banger. DarkZero versus Disrupt Gaming went all the way. Then all of a sudden, went to overtime. DZ pulled it out after losing their very first overtime round this season. Jesse and Jacob, help me out with all of this.
So this was a game that Disrupt should have won. I'm gonna say it. They had a man up. It was a 6-4 advantage, and there were only a couple of people standing between Disrupt and actually closing out the entire game. And suddenly, that's when Panda and the rest of DarkZero begin to wake up, so to speak. It turns from a 4-6 game into an 8-7 loss. They were so on the edge, but DarkZero's attacking adaptations, when it counted, still enabled them to claw this one back and get 2 points off the back of an overtime dub.
We thought we were going home early. I was ready to go sit on the couch, order some sushi, have a good night, but no, we are here for the long haul. And I mean, DG get 1, DarkZero 2 in a row, and they bounce back and forth every single step along the way, and it's really an insane game to close out this week. A nice little bow on top to a week. That was a little bit one-sided for most of the games, but I really do think that both these teams gave it their all, and we got to see some fantastic siege in this game today.
Jesse, wait, keep the stats up production for a second. Jesse, remember when I was an analyst with you on the desk and we kept saying, yo, we're waiting for Eclipse to be there. We're waiting for Eclipse to just dominate everything. Eclipse is a beast, man.
Yeah, he's finally in that role that we wanted to see him in. He's had to move from that sort of flank watch into more of that sort of vertical player who's playing on those sledge roles. And I think he has struggled a little bit, you know, with that bit of a switch over, but he's really been coming into his own now in this game particularly. Was the pop-off player. I thought Hyper as well was really one of those players that throughout the game was holding the water for DarkZero and really making it a good game for them.
Yes, and even on Disrupt Gaming, great game to them as well. Players like Iconic was definitely popping off, and the whole team, they looked good until it came down to the very end. Either way,
Yeah.
they shouldn't be too down about that game. They played so well right there on Villa. But Jacob, you liked what DZ had, and wait, actually, we have an interview that just came up, and I think it's going to be the one and only BC, and you guys call him the Egg, right?
That's
And
him.
I call him Siege's resident Vin Diesel cosplayer, but that's just me.
BC, how's it going, man? Jacob just called you Vin Diesel right there on the desk, but I want to give you a congrats for a big win right there. So I have a few questions, and first things first, this is our first time talking, so it's really cool to get to know you like this. What has it been like for you to transition back into a playing role and professional player for the NAL?
Well, I think the rolling out process is still happening. You know, trying to reacclimate with the game it's been a toll. It's a lot of struggle that we've had to undergo, but it's working smoothly still. You know, it's just a steady climb. I think we've definitely scraped out a few wins early, which has kind of given us some buffer time for me to get back into that. But I mean, my goal has mainly been just to like empower the guys more, like get them in better roles, hear them out more, let them make calls, and everyone's feeling comfortable. So they're picking up the slack where I might be falling behind a little bit right now.
BC, you're doing fine, man. Don't down yourself like that. By the way, I love the clutch you had where you laid down prone in the smoking kitchen. That was fantastic. But I'm talking about being acclimated with the younger players, the new guys, and getting them up to speed. Pamba started off the game not so hard. I believe he was 1-8 at a time. Then he woke up, like Stokes said, and he took over and was a big part of that win. What is it like playing with a young player like that and getting him up to speed? What helped him take over as well towards the end of the game?
Well, one thing with young players is let them start off playing what they're comfortable with, so the rest of the vets can kind of move around, get someone what they're used to. And he's not just a young player. I mean, he's really only been playing comp for like 6 months, so he might be the rookiest professional player ever. But yeah, we let him know that we have his back.
Wow.
And so if he messes up, or like you said, he kind of tanks early, that it's not his fault, and we help him with his pacing. So if he needs to speed up, we push him and we encourage him. If he needs to slow down, we address it on a team level that we need to slow down. But it's all about him understanding that we have his back, and as long as he's being explosive and he's not hesitating, then he's doing his job just fine for us.
I love the insight that you've been giving us so far, BC. And the very last question, looking forward, you guys only have one loss to TSM. TSM has been on a tear lately. For the fans out there, and even us at the desk, we love this iteration of DarkZero. What should we look forward to? What are things that you guys are working on to get even better at this point?
So we've always had a really deep playbook, but I think where the gold is really just in the minor responses and the little plays that are within strats. Like everyone kind of has defaults, but it's how you respond to little plays, or when you're in a pinch or a man advantage, or you want to trap a guy. That's where the great teams start to shine, and it's something we were good at in the past, and it's some of it's gone away, and now with me jumping in and a whole shift of roles and Pamba now on board, we've had to kind of restart the playbook. So all those responses and those cool plays and things like that, it's going to take some time for them to come out. But we want to play like a modular type of siege, where you kind of approach each phase a little bit with like a new fresh eye kind of thing. And just in time, whether we see it this stage of NAL or if it's later at a major next season, but eventually we're hoping to be really adaptive and fluid and kind of ever evolving.
BC, you're my favorite interviewee right now. You're the best. Thank you so much for the insight. I wish you guys the best. DarkZero, you guys are looking great. Keep killing it with the fellas, all right? Give Hyper a big hug for me. He's a beast as well.
Thanks, appreciate you guys.
No problem. Take it easy, BC. All right. Now, going back to the desk. Wow. BC just puts it all out on the table. The man is
Interview
straight
him more.
business.
Please
Yes.
interview him more.
I
That was
didn't
great.
know what it was gonna be like. Me and BC never really spoke like that, but man, like so
He's a
much
smart guy.
knowledge. Exactly.
Yeah.
Jesse, anything you have to say about this matchup right now? Today has been a crazy day.
Yeah, I mean, huge congrats to DarkZero, obviously, not only winning the game, but winning the only close game that we've had over the last couple of Playdays. I think that really does say a lot about them and how they play when they get to this overtime. They can certainly hold their heads up high. They managed to get a good couple of points on the board now, and yeah, they should feel pretty good about this one.
Man, I like what I see so far. That game was by far one of my favorites so far this stage. But we actually had a community poll, and it's a good one. Out of these two veterans, which will have a bigger impact? It's going to be BC from DarkZero and Shuttle from Disrupt Gaming. Now, Jacob, give me a reason why you would choose one of the two.
See, I was looking for Shuttle to show up in this one, so beforehand it might just be a case of he's had a couple of off games and he's somebody who has statistically always done very well fragging-wise in the past, and BC is more of a support role, I suppose, but
Yeah.
I mean, more people might be aware of BC. I don't know, this one's kind of close.
All right, Jesse, what are you thinking, man?
I'm thinking Shuttle. I mean, he's been a little bit up and down, but I think he is sort of the more known player. He's not just come off of the coaching bench, so I'll take Shuttle here.
Yeah, Shuttle does have the fancier plays, but this poll isn't for that. BC just wanted to win, and he got exactly that.
Wow.
69% nice, and there you have it.
Nice.
But-
nice in
nice.
chat right now, thank you.
Yes, there we go. But by the way, he said something that BC, if you guys are listening, he said, you know, the fancy players are going to come, but just not yet. We don't care about the fancy plays. We just care about the W at the end of the day. But also, when it comes to the MVP, what do you guys think it is? Jesse, you first. But wait, actually, it just popped in my head.
Okay.
Lansing had a phenomenal performance, and I think he's definitely one of the runner-ups. But go ahead.
Yeah, I always forget about this, to be totally honest with you. And you just hit me with the, like, I don't really know.
It happens to all of us.
I got a
Yeah,
couple
this is
ideas if you're
tough.
stumped.
Go for it, go for it.
What's up,
It's
Jacob?
either Bosco, again, because he had, I think, the highest overall rating on the day of anyone who played today.
Okay.
It's Rexon, because Rexon had a phenomenal game
did.
against Beast Coast, or it's Laxing. It's one of those three for me.
Rexon.
Rexon.
Yo,
I'll put Rexon on
Rexon.
my
Yeah, I
money.
forgot all about that production. Are we right? Is it Rexon? Throw it up on the screen. The highlights doesn't come, powered by the wonderful people over at Predator that's been treating us so well. And it's gonna be none
Bosco.
other than
Bosco.
Boss Goat, the smoke legend. You guys know him. He's gonna be the MVP of Playday number 4.
I mean, he's really a fantastic player, and you can see his stat line the last time we saw it there was 10-1, 12-3 is where he finishes it out. And one of those players that, like, not only is he popping off, right, on those, you know, like Lion smoke plays, but we really did hype up Space Station's drone work today, and he's a big part of that. He's really one of those two players that's always behind that drone, feeding information to his team. So a fantastic performance overall. The fact that he can also pop off and frag as an individual player really does speak to how talented he is.
Yeah.
It's absolutely crazy. And Jacob, you want to touch up on that?
Just a slight bit, just because SSG, of any of the winning teams today, I think made the biggest statement by shoving Mirage's face in the dirt in the way that they
True.
did. And the fact that Bosco, along with the rest of SSG, were able to get as many kills as they did, force Mirage into so many uncomfortable situations, and also do it while, for 5 rounds, thinking they didn't have a single kill or death on the board. SSG, for me, is the overall crazy story of the day, because if they were going to win, I didn't think it would come anywhere close to the way that they did it against Mirage today. So hats off to Space Station.
And speaking of that matchup, let's take a look at the standings. Mirage was a team that you put as top 2 on your power rankings. Space Station, what, at the end of second week, they were like, what, middle of the pack towards the bottom? I don't remember, but still, they are number 1 right now, beating the mess out of Mirage, and they're sitting pretty. TSM is going to be right behind them, and this race is getting closer than ever right now, Jesse. I mean, the major's on the line.
Yeah, I feel like this is kind of getting close to what we might see at the end of the season. I think Oxygen's a team that you got to watch out for to jump up a couple of places in that standings, because they have had a bye. TSM currently, like, they moved down to second, but keep in mind they didn't play today, so they're still looking really strong. But Space Station as well. I mean, you cannot take this away from them. They've way exceeded my expectations. They genuinely look like they will finish in the top 3 this stage. And it's fantastic to see, you know, the former world champs, right? Back on top.
Okay, I have to say this, and you know, Beast Coast X said, if you're mad at me, it is what it is. But the top 7 that we have right now, it can all change. Disrupt, they look great. Oxygen, we know what they're capable of, and DarkZero, they're just gonna keep on getting better. The top 4 looks beautiful as well. But let's take a look at next week's schedule. The Super Week has finally come to an end, so we're going back to one play day a week, and that's going to be on June 30th. First matchup of the day. Hey, it's going to be a statement. Beast Coast next set. It's going to be the battle of the trash cans. But after that, Jacob, what game would you like to watch?
So,
Space Station versus Oxygen. Ooh.
I was looking at that. But honestly, this might be one of the most balanced play days that we have coming up on June 30th. You're right.
For sure.
Number 8 and number 9 starting the day off. SSG and Oxygen, 2 teams from that top 4 we keep talking about, are gonna kill each other in that game. DarkZero and Sonics, I want to say, are pretty evenly matched up at this point. If the Sonics aren't, blowing teams out of the water. TSM versus Mirage is the only game I'm a little worried about being a blowout if TSM keeps on 7-0ing teams. But I don't know. Only time will tell next week. This day looks incredible.
No, but seriously speaking, Beast Coast for X said, I'm looking for one of the teams to really pick it up, turn
Even
up a
that
notch,
game will
and
be
take it
good.
to another level. It's
this is
going to
their
be
chance.
good. This is both of those teams' chances to really show that, hey, you know what? We can get on the roll. If XSET wins this, can you imagine the momentum they can gain? A little bit of positivity, because for those 2 teams, when you get beat so much you're down in the dumps, it wears on you. I could feel it. But fellas, this has been a really fast and fun play week for us. The Super Weeks have come to an end. Jesse, Jacob, anything you guys would like to say before we close out the show?
I mean, I guess just thanks to everybody for tuning in and watching the shows, right? Even though they haven't been the best games of all time, there's still been some really fun moments, some really entertaining stuff going on in these games. And of course, we ended out with a bang, so shout out to DarkZero and DG for that one. But yeah, it's been very fun to work on the desk. And of course, we're already at the halfway point, right? We're done 4. We've got 5 more games to go, or 5 more play days. And yeah, the NAL, we're really going to start getting to the meat of it soon. So this is going to keep on getting better, Belly.
Yeah, thanks to you and Spawny for your work. And Jacob, my man, what you got to say?
All right, I'll get real for one more second real quick.
Oh boy.
Here's how we're going to end the Super Week. Understand that we are very, very close to the major at this point. It might not seem like it, but we already have 4 games done and there's only 5 games left. So if you're looking to make the major, if you're any team looking to get within that top 4 and you notice that you're a little bit below the curve or that you might be slipping someplace, you need to start upping your game. And if you're a team that already thinks that you kind of have a top 4 spot locked in, don't get complacent. Ensure that you have that spot all to yourself and don't let anybody else take it away from you, because if you're looking for SI points, you're looking for a bigger prize pool, top 4 and Mexico is on the line. Do not slip or up your game to ensure that you actually get there. So only 5 games remaining. The pressure is on. Make no mistake, we are about to enter the hardest part of stage 2 starting next week.
You know what? I'm a big fan of sports, and my favorite saying is that it's any given Sunday. Here in the NAL, you take a look at the standings, we look at power rankings and predictions. At the end of the day, none of that ever matters. These players, they have an opportunity to make the most of themselves, and we're seeing it unfold every dang week that we have this thing. So I can't wait to see what surprises we're going to have next week. I hope those at the bottom can rise up to the top, and at the top, it's nothing but a bloodbath. You don't know what's going to happen. So with that being said, I'm going to shut down this desk. It's been a blast being your host for this week. I'm Veli, Jesse, and Jacob, the analyst. It's been a good time. And for everyone else out there, we'll see you next week for some more Rainbow Six Siege.